Hey, so in a previous video, we talked about how to correctly cut and control the hairline through elevation and by really the lack of elevation, by decreasing it. So we can solidify and keep that hairline really strong so we can create the outcome that the guest was expecting to see rather than going through the same little mistakes that we make every single time and exposing that hairline when that wasn't really our goal. So I thought we'd take a second to look at what if it does happen. We need to know how to correctly identify it in the refinement stage of what we can leave and what we need to clean up, and then what else we need to keep. So I've added a little bit to the string today. I've added some orange, and what this is going to help me do is identify the weight and how it sits over the hairline. So one thing that we need to start looking at is when we cut a graduation, is when we get it all the way finished. The one thing we haven't decided yet, we haven't decided really what the outline of the haircut's going to be because we're so concentrated on building it up. So now's our time to decide like what it can be. But unfortunately, sometimes when you expose the hairline, such as this, you only have one outcome that you can do, and that is to create strength from front to back, and that's really where we're going to go today. Really what I want to identify is, one, what is my perimeter? So the perimeter colors are still the same. You know, we have our blue, our red, and our green. The red is to signify where the hairline is at. The green is that front hairline, and the blue is the back hairline. But the first thing we have to look at is the weight that falls over the hairline. A lot of times people come right into refinement, and the first thing that they want to do is they want to cut out all of this excess hair. Essentially, if I cut out this hair that's down below, is I've made all that hair now the same length, and my haircut's actually heavier and fatter on the ends than it needs to be, and it's going to lead me to do a lot more refinement than necessary. So what I want to do is identify first the weight that sits over my perimeter here. So my perimeter is not going to change. What I now need to come in through is to soften the weight here. Because what happens a lot of the times is once we expose this, we get a little bit concerned and cautious, and we start decreasing this hair and this elevation, and it gets really heavy, almost one length through the front, and they lose that buildup. So what we need to do is to go back through, leave the perimeter out, and now come in and identify where this weight is at. So you have a couple options when you're going to soften this weight. If I want to soften this weight, what I need to do is I need to spread this out further or wider so it lays flatter down here at the bottom. So it's a little bit tougher to do when it's on yarn, but essentially this is what I'd be doing. I'd be coming in and I would be point cutting the hair to make it spread out a little bit more, to make it a little bit softer so that hair is not falling to such a strong point. Now again, with this yarn, it makes it a little bit more difficult, but this is what I do. I'd come through and point cut. And the reason why I'm point cutting again is because I'm changing the ends of the hair to be a little bit softer so they spread out a little bit more. So what happens when this comes down is it's going to spread out and cover more ground, and then you're going to see what you can refine down here at the bottom. So then coming back through again and pointing this out. Again, this point cutting this yarn doesn't necessarily work, but having the different color does help you see how that weight sits over your perimeter and disguises what you're looking at. So I would come through and soften what would be my weight that sits above my perimeter and spread it out a little bit more so you can see more of the perimeter. This does two things for you. One, it keeps the weight of the haircut intact, but it allows you to create fullness around here through the back, just to kind of not hide this, but to make it look more wearable. And I would do this through all my sections. So once that's been established, now I can start clearing up and cleaning up my perimeter. My clue for my perimeter and what I can create is all based off of this length right here. So if I move this out to the side and I start looking at that length, I'm looking at that hair that travels the furthest into this shortest point. Because this is my shortest point, what I have to do now is to either take this all the way short, all the way through the back to make that balanced out. Then I can make this go straight all the way through to create a straight line that works all the way from here all the way back. So your key for your refinement is take out the weight here, then identify your shortest point, and then you're just connecting the dots. And I'm holding this out of the way just so you guys can see. And then I want to take it from my shortest point, and now I'm going to take it all the way through the back and work it in. So even though I had a little bit of a challenge of making the hairline and exposing it and making it a little bit shorter than I intended, knowing where to find my guide for what I can refine out helped me. So this clues us in into the back. When you're cutting a graduation, guys, leave yourself this little room and length of hair in the back so you can connect those dots. If I took this super short all the way to the hairline, I would have had no choice but to angle that all the way up to the hairline. Now that can be done, but that should be decided in your consultation as far as like that. So the key is, guys, is don't create that challenge at the beginning by exposing your hairline. Understand how to control your hairline by decreasing the elevation. But if you do expose the hairline, we need to know the proper steps into refining that hairline out. And so my whole goal with these little videos is to give you guys advice on how to approach a haircut from the beginning rather than showing you tricks and being like, oh, this is how you'd fix it. We don't want to spend the time and the refinement fixing the haircut. We want to spend our time and the refinement enhancing the haircut. So again, hope this helps, guys, and thanks for tuning in.